Okay guys, this is Flag Games, and now we're going to speed things up a little. So let's see what we've got so far. We hit play and we only got this navigation of course and the zoom in. But we can return. And you see if I click again I always getting more zoom. So what I'm going to do is go here to the display image and I'm going to create public enum, call it state. So I'm going to set a state for the current display of the image. So the first state will be normal and the other will be zoom. So we have two states. The one is the default state that we have when we begin the game, that's the normal state, and the other is the zoom. It's when we zoom in at the object. And I also need a public. I need an instance of this enum, public state, and I'm going to call it current state. Okay, so now I can set the state. And if I go to the zoom in object class, you can see here in the interact function, you might be thinking, some of you, why did I put this parameter here? Why do I need an instance of a display image? Well, the thing is, I had a plan all along. Because now I can set the current display, current state equals to display image state dot normal and zoom. And that means that we're now in the zoom state. And to see why that's necessary in a while. I also going to game object layer. I'm going to set it to 2. And that means that I am ignoring the raycast. So when I'm setting this to 2, the moment I get to zoom in, I can't zoom in again because it's ignoring all of the raycasting. So if I save and hit play, you see I zoom in, I hit again, and I can't zoom anymore. So that's what I want. Great. Notice now a little issue that comes up here. If I am to move this zoom in object here in the corner, and I hit play and try to zoom in here, I'm getting off the image display bounds. So I need to fix that. In order to fix that, I'm going to create a function called Constraint camera. And I will need the height, and that is the camera main orthographic size. And that gives me the half of the height. That means this distance from here to here. And the width is height multiplied by camera main aspect. And the aspect is width divided by height. So whenever you multiply the height with the aspect, you get the width, but you get the half of the width. That's what this returns. That means here to here, this distance. And now I want to find the game object that I will create in a sec. Game object find, call it camera bounds. Okay, and I'll just create it now, so you'll see what this does. Create MD, and it's a bit laggy. So create MD camera bounds and place it 0, 0, and add a component box collider 2D, and I want this collider to cover the whole image. So I'm going to play with the values until I get it to fit right there. Oh, now it feels perfectly. Yeah. So these are my camera bounds. These are the limitations that I put to the camera, and I don't want the camera to get off these limits. So now I'm going to go here and say if the camera transform position x plus the width is greater, and I will explain now what I'm doing in a while. It's greater than camera bounds transform position x plus, oh, what did I write here? Camera bounds plus camera bounds collider, no, get component box collider 2D size dot x divided by 2. And if that happens, camera main. And if that happens, camera main transform position equals new vector 3, and I'm going to write this down and I'm going to explain it in a while. Camera main, I want this plus equals camera main, camera bounds transform position. Actually, I want this and just copy it. Minus all this. Okay, and maybe it would be better. It would be better if I put this in another line and 0, 0. So I don't need to change the y and the z for now. And let's see first if this works, and if this works, I will explain what am I doing here. So click here and it doesn't work. Why does it not work? Because I don't even call it. So constraint camera every time I zoom in. Let's try again. Great, it works. So how does this work? I'm getting this position here, this, subtracting this, and I get this distance with a negative value because that's greater, and since I have the plus symbol here, I get the exact position that I want. So I'm going to leave this component, and I'm going to write the other constraints. That means the constraint here, here, and here of camera. So because it's very similar, and you can see the result later. Okay, you see what I've done here. I used minus for the negative x, and for the y I used the height, position x, size, position y, I mean size y, and I changed the y coordinate here, and also for the negative y. And if I jump back to Unity and I want to camera bounce and set the layer to ignore raycast because you don't want this collider to interfere with the raycasting. You don't want to notice any raycast, because other way you might never get to reach the ray might never get to reach this box collider. So now if you see, I've placed box collider in the edges, and if I try and zoom in here. I am not getting off bounds, or zoom in here, or zoom in here. So I'm good. Now I need a way to return from that zoom. I don't want to stuck in that zoom state forever. So the way I'm going to do this, it's very simple really. I'm going to use another arrow. So duplicate this and rotate it by 90 and put it somewhere here. Right, I can put it here, but for now, for display reasons, I'll put it here. And I'm going to call it button zoom return. Button return. Return button. Button return. Same thing. Okay, so look what I'm going to do. I'm going to go button handler, and first of all, I want private float initial camera size. So I want to know what the camera size was before I zoom in, and I also want to know what was the initial camera location, initial camera position. So in start method, I'm going to initialize this and say initial camera size equals to camera main orthographic size, and initial camera position equals to camera equals to camera main transform position. Good. Now I need a public void on zoom return, on click zoom return, I'll call it. So in this function I want to return from zoom. So first of all, I want a game object find display image, and I want to get the component of display image and set the current state equals to state normal, because I returned from zoom. Now I also want to reset the layer of the zoom in object, because now I set it to layer 2, but I never set it to layer 0 again, the default layer, because layer go from 0 to whichever the value. So I need to reset it to default in order to be able to zoom in again. So I'm going to do this. Var zoom in objects, because there won't be only one object in the future. Var zoom in objects equals game of find objects of type. You need to do find objects and not find object. Find objects of type zoom in object. So I will find all of the zoom in objects, and for each one of them I'm going to iterate it. For each zoom in object that I find in zoom in objects, I'm going to set the layer zoom in object game object zoom in object game object layer equals 0. So I'm back to the default layer and I will be able to zoom in again. Okay, so next thing I want to do is set the camera main orthographic size orthographic size to the initial size, and camera main transform position equals initial camera position. Okay, so I think we're good. I'm going to button return. Come on, don't get lag now. Button return. Okay, button, and I want the on click zoom return. So I think this will work now. Let's see. So I click zoom, I press that, and it doesn't, because let's see why. Game object find display, I didn't spell it right, display image. Let's try again. Let's try. Okay, so zoom in, come on, zoom in here, and I turn, so it worked. Great. So the next thing we will need to do is to hide the display of the buttons according to the state we're at. So I don't want the back arrow to show when the state is the normal, and I also don't want the left and right arrow to be shown when the state is the zoom. For example, I don't want this to be displayed now. So I'm going to do that next. I'm going to try a different approach now, just for fun and just to show you guys a different way of seeing things. So instead of enabling and disabling the buttons, the arrow buttons, according to the current state, I'm just going to display and hide the display. So I'm going to create a script called button behavior. And within that script, I'm going to do some stuff. So first of all, I want the public enum button ID, and I want to know what kind of button the current button is. So the one is room change. It's a button that enable us to change the room, and the other is return. Is a return button. So I want also an instance of the ID, so button ID, this button ID, and I also want the private game object, or no game object, display image, of course, current display, because everything goes around the display image. And then start method, I'm going to initialize this. Current display equals game object, I hope I'll spell it right now, display image, get component display image. Now I want to hide the display or display the button according to the state, according to the current state I'm in. So first of all, I'm going to do the hide display, and here what I'm going to do: if current display, current state equals to display image state normal, and also if this button we are referring to the current button, if the ID of the current button, this button ID, equals to button ID return, and I misspelled that, return, and of course that is a taken word, so room change button and return button. Button ID return button. Then I want to hide the display of this button, and I also want to disable it. So first of all, look what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take this button, get component, image, and of course first of all I need to use the UI. Unity Engine UI, and I'm going to get the image component of this button and set the color to whatever the color is, but I will change the alpha and I will set it to 0, so the button will not appear. And also I want to get component button and I want to disable it. Button enabled equals false, so I can't use that button. And one more thing is, look what I'm going to do now. This dot transform dot, what was it, set symlinks index to 0. Why am I doing this? Because according to the hierarchy of the canvas, the last children is above the others. So if I were to place that here, this has a priority over this because it's below it in the hierarchy. So whenever I want to disable one button, now I have the return button next to the right arrow button, but I could have it here. So I want to avoid that occasion. So whenever I disable a button, I actually hide the display of the button. I want to set the sibling index to be 0, so this is 0, so it's in the last order of the hierarchy, and I won't have a problem. So I'm going to do that for the change room button, and if the current state is zoom and this button ID equals button ID what was it, room change button, right? So same thing here. Okay, that should do it, and let's also display the buttons whenever we want. If current state, now I'm going to do a little bit different if statement here. So if it's zoom and it's a return button, then I do want to display it. So take this and just change this to 1. Take this and just change this to true. Same thing for the change room button. If it's normal, I want this to be displayed true and 1, and that I don't need to mess with this. I don't need to mess with this in the hide display. So I also need to call them. I sometimes forget to put them in the update method, and hide display and display. Okay, so now I'm going to put that component in every button here, button behavior, and this button is room change button. This button is also room change button, but this button is return button. Okay, save this and see if that works. So zoom in, where was my zoom in? Here, and the display got hidden for all of the buttons. Let's see why. Let's see why. So the thing is, it worked just fine, but I had this scale here, and when I played, I thought I zoomed in, but I didn't. And I couldn't see the display here, so that was my bad. I zoomed in here, and you see the display of the right and left arrow are gone. Is gone, and I can't. Although there is this button here, if you go to the scene, there is a right button here in the edge of the camera and a button left here, but I can't press them because I disabled them. I can press that, and see, now we have the right and left arrow, and now we have a decent navigation through the room where we have some spots that we can zoom in. Actually one spot, but we can't with some others. That's no problem. So now I'm going to leave this video here. I promise I come back with more content soon and gradually speed up things, so we get to do a lot of stuff. Thanks guys for watching, and please remember to like the video and subscribe. See you next time.